Alrighty, everybody. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit more about Limbo Eternal War. And I think today we're going to go over exactly some of the stat cards and just the cards in general, and then we'll also go over the different icons, such as swifts, reactions, and constants. And so today we're going to start with looking at the lords. And why exactly do you want to choose them? So, as you know, each faction has 4 different lords. Now, each lord does a different thing, and they all cost different values, but those values vary depending on what they can do. So for Takmal, it has a reaction where at the end of the opponent's activation, you'll move a fate to your pool if they have more than you, and place it on the actual card, and then at the end of the activation phase as a whole, that fate goes to your pool. That helps you for the next phase whenever you're ready to do your bidding. Also to calculate the points for victory points at the very end. Some of the other cards do things such as this card right here, the Sire of Pain. He has a constant that says opposing bloody characters gain disadvantage while attacking. And then, as a reaction, when you pay a fate cost, you reduce that cost by 1 and deal 2 damage to the character using that fate ability. So that's kind of a cop out. You know, you get a reduced fate activation, but you have to inflict pain upon yourself. And so the lords, each one kind of varies depending on what kind of army you really want to have, the divinities, sorry. And the same thing goes with the humans and the light side. So the light side also has their divinities. Now, for someone that's starting out and just wants something easy, I recommend the level 4 for each of the divinities. The reason being is that they're both very easy to read and very easy to follow. It's not something that you have to follow more advancedly like, say, Millard or Ashara. So even with the Swift right here, the front card, the constant is that each of your characters gain evasive 1. This means that you'll get to reduce your damage by 1 every single time when the damage total is calculated. And then for 2 actions, you can boost speed and fly. So that could also be good if you want to try and get around some enemies. But then there's also, sometimes some of you guys have asked, what exactly is this purple lord, or divinity? And he is actually a neutral one, so he can go for either army. And he's pretty easy to use too. He also costs 4. It says the constant is that you are considered to have 1 additional fate in your pool when scoring fate during the objective phase. So, as you know, when you get to the objective phase, you guys will calculate who has the most VP, and then that other person will score 1 based on whoever has the most. Then, the reaction is at the start of the activation phase, you'll add 1 fate crystal to a character of your choice. That is also very helpful because that means that your character does not specifically have to have the channel ability to gain this crystal. So you can use that as a kind of workaround for maybe some of your stronger characters like Godfrey or Gouge and some of them, so that they can activate their abilities a lot easier. So those are divinities. Now there also are upgrade cards, and these are also used in your army. And there's a few of them that are very specific to teams. You have the dark ones, you have the light units, and then there are many that say neutral. We'll go ahead and we'll add 1 neutral card on here. And now, so upgrade cards also count as part of your army building points. With these, you will add them to a specific unit or to an actual unit card, so it gets the whole group. With the dark one, you're essentially giving someone the undead trait and immune. And it says it can count for the whole group. Now, immune means that whenever someone would score a critical effect like wound or daze or any of the yellow tokens, that it does not apply to them. And so that they would get to avoid that. And undead can help them with some other actions as well. There's a neutral one called Unlimited Power. This skill specifically says that it gains the channel skill. So if it's someone that does not have the channel ability, like Godfrey, you can give this to him. He can start to channel so that he can use his skills more often without costing your own fate from your fate pool, so that you don't have to shift it to the other person. Now, this favored one, it's a light ability. It only works for the hero or lord, and that character gains the holy trait. Now, why would you want the holy trait? Well, our favorite card that'll turn someone into a sheep is considered a holy ability. Now, if you have someone that's on your army that's neutral, but they're on the light side, you can still give them that ability. And for general ideas, neutral characters kind of shift in both areas, so both of them could technically have this upgrade on them. That allows you to use polymorph so that both sides can technically use the sheep, because it'd be unfair for just one side to be able to. When would you want to use polymorph? Technically, if a lord uses it and they're holy, that means that they could get someone that is their same rank, so gluttony or wrath could also be turned into a sheep, which makes their armor go down to 0 and their base defense be 3, so that can be a really good chance to get some damage on them. The same can go for the other team though. They can get their they can get your team as well. So why do you want to use fate cards? Now, fate cards are kind of a little bit different to use. They do cost fate crystals, and they can either come from the character that it is channeled on, where you can just use them as if you gained an extra fate and then it gets discarded without getting added to the pool, or you can use it from your pool. It'll just go to the opponent at the end of your activation phase, at the end of your activation. So something could be like from the human side, and any human troop could use this one called Learn from the Past, and that means that any of the cards that you already used, if you want to use that card again, +1, then you can use this card to activate that one. Say you did polymorph and you want to do polymorph again, and you happen to have 4 fate crystals, then there you go. You can do it twice in a row. Now, for the undead and the dark side, they also have very good skills on their own. They have Absorb Essence, which is one that they could focus and boost all. So boosting all means that you'll increase your speed, your defense, and your attack. And so that's actually a really good thing to do if you want to have a good attack the next turn. But then there's some that work for anyone, and each army can have up to 9 of these, or have 9 total of the Ennies, because that's how we kind of built the decks. And so this one doesn't cost anything, and you can use it during your attack, your move phase, to gain 2 additional move points. And so these are kind of, when you're going through and building your deck, you want to make sure that when you grab all 20, because you have to have 20 that are completely different and do not have anything to do with each other, and you can't have more than 1 copy of each. We do this to kind of keep it fair, but you want to build your deck to kind of go towards your characters. And speaking of characters, we have our unit cards. Now, how do you read a unit card? Well, the first thing you'll do is, of course, there's your name, and then all these 4 red words are the different abilities that you'll be able to use these fate cards with. They have to have this keyword as the same word in order for them to use it. That kind of keeps it equal, so that you can't exactly just have 2 all the time using the same things. Now, you have your life, attack, defense, armor, and speed. Now, your defense and your armor get added together whenever you get attacked by something, but when you have direct dice of damage, only your armor value counts. So that's where direct dice of damage can go in and affect you really good. So you have, on these abilities themselves, you have 2 reactions. That's the little Ouroboros circle, and then this looks like it may be a swift, but it has the filled in triangle. That means it's an active ability, so you could use this instead of a regular attack. And this one costs 2 fate crystals to use. She does not have channel on her card at all anywhere, so she would have to use it from the pool, unless you have like maybe this dude right here giving her some extra stats. Now, that means that it's an attack of 4, so you'll get to roll 4 dice, kind of the same as this one, but this one has a range of 4 instead of just the immediate range of 1. Then it also has Pierce 2, and then it has a critical effective wound. So if you roll the 5 for the explosive dice, instead of doing that, you can inflict the wound, which means that every turn that they activate that character, they have to roll a dice. If they don't get a high enough number, then they don't get rid of it, and every time they take 1 wound. So it could be a good way to wear off somebody. Remember, if they have immune, it doesn't count on them. And then you have some of the guys like this. He doesn't have, for every single attack, if it's a critical, he automatically inflicts daze if you choose to, unless you do want to explode the dice. But he has, he has an actual swift, and he has 2 constants. So the constants mean that you don't even have to activate them. They'll always be in effect. Um, so one of them is that non-immune enemies that are adjacent to Gluttony cannot spend move points, so they can't leave once they get next to him. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't sidestep. Sidestepping is not considered a movement, and it is an entirely different move, but that could allow them to get away. But they have to sacrifice a whole ability just to move one square. Predator means that if attacking a bloody character, you can re-roll it to 2 dice. That is actually a very good card to have, because if you roll some 1s, that gives you a chance to re-roll and do some more damage. And then you have his Swift, which is something that you can activate on his activation. It does not count as an actual attack, so you don't use up any of your action points, because remember, you get 2 of them. So this will count as a free move, but it costs 3 fate, and it just adds a whole bunch of stuff. It's attack 3, deadly 2, pierce 1, and then after you resolve the attack, you recover health, and health is however much damage you damage the actual defender with total damage after everything's calculated, and then you also get +1. So it's a good way to regain your health. He may seem like he's overpowered, but there are some ways to get around him. He only has 4 defense, and he also has no armor at all. So if anyone has direct acid damage or anything like that, then that's a good way for them to inflict just straight pure damage to him. Now there's a couple other ones. We'll look at this one right here. People were wondering, what exactly does the slashes mean? And that just means, what is the cost of this unit if you were to take 1, 2, or 3, going from left to right? So if you only want 1 of these berserkers, it's going to cost 4 points to your army total. But if you want 3, it's only going to cost 10. So usually it's more advantageous to fill out the whole unit card, because at the same time, whenever you go to activate that unit card, you activate all 3 of the models that are on there, as opposed to just waiting for one of them to finish. All 3 of them will do their moves, and then they get to move on to the next characters. And you also want to make sure that you read what kind of skills they have. He has deadly 2, which means that your attack total damage will be calculated at the very end. So they could actually deal a lot more damage than we think that they could. Now, Azrat, he has a special ability. He is an add-on character, so he's not part of the core set. However, you do get the card in the core set, so you can play around with it to see what it's like. His special ability that he has as an action is called Nova. It's 2 crystals, and all characters within 4, including Azrat himself, take 4 dice of direct damage. So since he has no defense, pretty much it's almost like a self-sacrifice. Any move that he makes is probably going to end up killing him with that. But it helps in the long run, because you could get yourself in the middle of a whole bunch of troops and then just detonate yourself. So after talking about some of the dark side, let's move over to the light side to look at just a few of them. And we'll look at a basic troop. We'll look at the Halberdier. So as you can see on his, he also has the 357, which means that he can have up to 3 troops on that 1 unit card. He has a constant, which is opportunist, and a reaction called the best defense. So he automatically gets to, when an enemy enters Tiger Knight's threat range, which is going to be 1 for him, he's going to discard a guard token to attack that enemy. So if he has a guard as he used an action, then that means that he can get 2 attacks during that turn. Now on the other basic troops, the Rose Knight, she also has a couple different skills. Avenger is a good one to use when you have your teammates around you. They have to be friendly heroes or Rose characters. So any of the Rose Knights, the Rose Thorns, Aya, or even a few of the others, and in the future some of the expansion troops as well, they're all considered Rose Knights if they have the little rose characteristic on them. Now that means that the more troops that she's around that are similar to her, the better that effect works, because if anyone within 2 squares of you falls or dies, you get to focus or attack. Focusing, remember, gives you 1 advantage total to counteract any disadvantage or anything like that, or you can attack, and so she would get her attack of 3, and you could just have a free attack. because that's not going to count as a skill since that's a reaction. So it just automatically happens if the qualifications are met. And then some of your heroes that you have, like Yakun, she is a leader, but she's also holy, so she could automatically use that polymorph if she wanted to. She does have the ability to channel as well, so you don't have to use any of the fate pool. But her active ability is called Bright Blessing, cost 2, and it helps you recover 4 of any character within 2 and discard all banes from that character. So it only works for one specific character as long as you can see them. And that's good for maybe your Lord if you want to heal them. So you can keep her next to him to kind of keep him going. And then we have the neutral characters. So this card, as I said, all the cards are included in the main set. So you have Wong. He is a neutral. That's what the green characters mean. You can add them to either army. And they're considered both light and dark. That's why they're neutral. So he has 2 reactions, which are Danger Sense and Protect the Weak. But he also has a constant called Drunken Fist, where he gains accuracy 2 and advantage while attacking a character of higher cost. So he costs 8. So anyone that costs more than 8 will end up, he'll end up gaining advantage on automatically. He can also focus, so that can give him 2 advantage total. And his reaction is to break an attack. So if he gets a critical, he can do a break, which means that he'll lower their attack stat. So all these characters all have very good uses in the armies themselves. It's just a matter of finding out where they belong and how you should build your army. We recommend 50 just because that kind of fills up the map a little bit and gets you going. But you can actually make it as big as you want. In the end, it all comes down to how long you want to play, what kind of game you want to play. Next time when I come on video, I'll probably go over what some of the different objectives are and that kind of stuff. And I'll also go over some more of the skills as well. Other than that, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll be back next time.